Hey, welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson is about responding to text with notes. So let's begin. Your objective today is I can write notes as I read to help me answer a question. Here are the success criteria, the steps that you'll take to do that. The first step is you'll pre-read the question, and then you're going to read the text one paragraph at a time. Then, after each paragraph, you're going to stop and record notes on the topic of your question. And then the last step is to refer to your notes when you write your final answer. So let's take a look at a question and work on writing some notes together. We'll kind of talk about what it means to write a note, what's a helpful note, and then at the end, I'm going to ask you to use our notes from the lesson to try to answer this question. So step one is to pre-read the question. That means before you read the text, you should be reading the question that you're trying to answer from the text. So here's the question. According to the text, changes around us, how are erosion and weathering similar and different? All right, so as I take notes, I'm going to use a Jamboard, but you can use your whiteboard and marker. If those are still working, you can use pencil and paper. You can even take notes on like a screenshot of the text itself as you read. There's all kinds of ways to take notes. So we've pre-read our question. We know that we're looking for similarities and differences between weathering and erosion. So one thing that's good to do when you're taking notes on a text in response to a question is to think about how is the question organized, like what kind of structure is this? And if you're paying close attention, you'll notice that this question is a compare and contrast question. We're being asked to talk about the similarities and differences between two topics. So when we write our notes, I'm going to want to have a spot for things that are true about one of them, things that are true about the other, weathering and erosion, and things that are true about both. Nice thing about writing on a Jamboard is I can like rearrange my notes as they come up. So you don't have to use this particular thing to write your notes, but it can be useful. All right, so yeah, my question today, I want to find out things that are true about only weathering, about only erosion, and about both. And I got that just from reading the question. So before I even read the text, I'm going to figure out how am I going to organize and set up my notes. Step two is to read the text one paragraph at a time. So let's read the first paragraph and then take some notes. Have you ever noticed that rocks in a moving stream are smooth to the touch? They do not have the rough edges that we know most rocks have. The land around us is continuously changing every day, but it happens so slowly, most of us do not even notice. These changes in our land are known as weathering and erosion. Let's see here. So I'm going to mark up my text here a little bit. I'm noticing this sentence has both weathering and erosion in it. It's got something that's true about both of them. So I'm going to try to write a note about that later. Weathering and erosion can create small and large changes. Let's talk about a few ways weathering and erosion cause changes around us. Okay, so they're being compared in these two sentences. So step 3 in my process here says stop after each paragraph and record notes on the topic of your question. Remember, the topic is how are weathering and erosion similar and different? I think I found some ways they're similar. You also want to remember that when we're writing notes, we don't write in complete sentences. We just want to get the basic idea. So both of them cause changes in land. And I got that from this sentence. These changes in the land are known as weathering and erosion. Weathering and erosion can create small and large changes. And I'm going to write that in note 2, small or large changes. Okay, notice how I didn't use complete sentences. I'm writing quickly. I want to kind of move through this. I don't want it to take me all day to write these notes. All right, and that's something that's true of both. If I was writing on pencil and paper, I'd want to just write it underneath both, but since I've got this Jamboard, I'm going to write it and move it around. Okay, let's go back to step 2 and keep reading. Remember that smooth rock from the moving stream we talked about earlier? That rock was smoothed down through a process known as weathering. Weathering is the slow progress of a rock breaking down or wearing away into smaller pieces. It's a destructive force. The breaking down of rocks with water, ice, wind, and growing plant roots are all examples of weathering. Okay, so I'm noticing that this text was only about weathering. Weathering is, okay, this is a definition that's helpful. Weathering is the slow progress of a rock breaking down or wearing away. It's a destructive force, and then it got some examples here. So I want to definitely include what weathering is. Weathering is breaking down / wearing away rocks. Okay. Anything else there? We got some examples there, but my question asking for examples? How are erosion and weathering similar and different? Well, I might be able to include an example there, so let's put them in the notes just in case. Can be from water, ice, wind, roots. Okay, cool. So those are things that are with weathering. Weathering does not happen quickly. It takes time for rocks to break down. In a stream, rocks move around the water, bumping into each other and breaking apart. This weathering process changes the rocks, making them smaller and smoother. On the shoreline of a coast, the waves carry sand and seashells that weather rocks. Imagine it's cold out and water gets stuck in the crevice of a rock. Over time, the water may freeze and force the rock to break apart. Also, tree and plant roots are underneath the layers of soil. As plants grow, the tree roots disturb and break apart the rocks in the ground. Weathering is causing change all around us, and most of us do not even notice. Okay, so this paragraph, it seems like it's about describing examples of weathering. So we have rocks moving in the water, the waves carrying sand and seashells that weather rocks, water freezing, and tree roots. Okay, do I need to write any notes about that? I've already written a note about it can be from water, ice, wind, or roots. So I think I've just got more details about that. And my question isn't asking me for lots of details and examples of weathering. It's just asking me how weathering and erosion are similar and different. So if it turns out that erosion can be from water, ice, wind, and rocks, I might want to move this over, but I'm going to keep it over here under weathering for now. Let's move on. I don't think I need to write any more notes on that paragraph. Weathering breaks down the rocks while another process known as erosion moves the smaller pieces of rock away. Okay, so erosion moves pieces of rock away. After rocks are weathered, wind, water, and ice move weathered rock material from one place to another. Okay, so wind, water, and ice show up here too. That's going to be something similar to weathering, I think. Weathering breaks down rocks and erosion moves them away. Weathering and erosion are partners. Where there's one, you'll find the other. Okay, I'm going to stop and take some notes. Again, I'm asking myself, how are erosion and weathering similar and different? So let's write some things. This paragraph looks like it's mostly about erosion. Erosion moves rock pieces. Okay, so that's what erosion is. And then it can use wind, water, and ice. So I noticed in my notes earlier that weathering can use wind, water, ice, and roots. So I'm going to write a note that's for both. Wind, water, ice. Okay. And then for my weathering note, it just is roots. They could both use wind, water, and ice, but weathering only uses roots. Roots don't usually erode things. Okay, let's keep reading. We're almost done. Over time, moving water in a stream can erode enough material to create a canyon. Ocean waves carry large amounts of sand away and can change the look of a shoreline. Large glaciers move slowly through the ocean. As the glaciers move, they carry eroded sediment with them. Erosion has created many caves and canyons around the world. Just remember that erosion is always on the move. Okay, so it's moving things and it creates caves and canyons. That's pretty cool. All right. Weathering and erosion can be tricky to understand. Always remember that weathering is the breaking down of rocks into sediment, and erosion is the movement of that sediment. The two together are always working hard, and they never take time to rest. Without weathering and erosion, our land would always look the same. Now, where is the fun in that? Okay, that seemed like more of a conclusion paragraph. I didn't notice any new information there. All right, so my notes are here. And your exit ticket is going to be you using these notes to write me a response to the question. Okay, so your best bet here would be to take a screenshot of this and then to write or type your answer. Weathering is breaking down or wearing away rocks, and only roots can break down rocks, but they don't usually erode things. Erosion is moving rock pieces as opposed to breaking them down, and erosion is the force that creates caves and canyons. So that's something that's unique about erosion. And then both of them cause changes in land, small or large, and both of them can happen because of wind, water, and ice. So when you write your response in complete sentences, use my notes to help you write those responses. So again, your exit ticket for today is to do step 4. Refer to my notes when you write your final answer. There it is. If you're seeing this and you're confused about what I'm saying, it's probably because you need to go back and watch the video. My notes are on an earlier part of the video, and you're going to need to use those notes to help you do the exit ticket. So go back and watch if you're feeling confused. See you later.